Welcome back for another episode of First Person with Mark Slade of the Mark Slade Homes team. We're going to talk a little bit about relationships, but first,
Sure.
we get to do a little speed round to get to know you.
Okay, that
All
sounds
right, you
good.
ready for this? So we'll do 60 seconds. We'll see how many we can get in.
Got it.
What was your first job?
First job was Macy's training program, and I was a sales manager in a store in Brooklyn.
First car?
Pontiac Catalina, 1969. It was gold, and I nicknamed it Tank.
Tank. That's awesome. First listing? You remember?
First listing was on Summit Avenue in Maplewood, New Jersey.
First thing you say when you meet someone new?
I introduced myself. Hi, I'm Mark Slade.
Cool. First thing you do when you wake up? Do a morning routine?
A morning routine is get to the coffee machine as quickly as possible.
First pet?
First pet, a dog that I actually rescued named Hawkeye.
Oh, wow.
Well, first, my pet.
Yeah. No, I think that counts. First album or record you bought?
Probably Cheap Trick. I'm a
Okay.
little bit older than
Yeah,
me.
all
Yeah,
right,
some
all
of
right,
us
there
here.
it is. First computer?
First computer, probably an HP. I
First-
don't remember what it even was.
Yeah, it just had the logo on it.
Yeah.
First airplane flight you took, and where'd you go?
First flight I ever took was to Florida.
Okay.
Vacation.
First phone number?
First phone number is, let's see. Well, I know my 413-532-9044. No, that's my parents' phone number.
That's good. That's
All right,
good
we'll
enough.
go
You
with
got
that.
you got a number. That was
Got
good.
it.
That's the hardest one, I think. That was 60 seconds. That was pretty good.
Okay.
That was good. You got through a lot of them. So how'd you get into real estate? Love to hear a little bit of your arc and how'd you get to Mark Slade Homes team?
Okay. So as I said, my first job was Macy's, and I went through the training program, worked my way up, and ended up buying men's underwear and hosiery, or as I like to say, socks and jocks. It's a little bit more fun, and ended up going to the other side of the fence, as we call it, and going into wholesale. I
Okay.
worked myself up to an executive vice president, only to find that the industry was imploding. So. That job, that first EVP job lasted about a year and a half, and forced to look for another year and a half EVP, and then finally a third. And I got a little tired of the same thing happening, which is working for these companies, helping them reposition and almost turn them around, only to find myself 2 out of the 3 times being the recipient of the bye-bye when they were selling to the Chinese, Li and Feng. So after the third time, I kind of got a little tired of it and said it was time to reinvent. And so I combined the fact that I have degrees in fine arts, economics, and a minor in urban studies. And everyone said, real estate. And I said, yeah, well, I wanted to be an architect at one point. So this was kind of a good way of maybe getting into it. Didn't want to give up my weekends, but this year I'll do $40 million. So I guess it was worth giving up my weekends.
Yeah, it turned out great.
Yeah.
So everybody talks about this being a relationship-driven industry, and stats show 70-80% of transactions come through relationship. But what does that actually mean? How do you run your business with relationships?
Well, listen, you hear people say throw spaghetti at a wall. That's really not purposeful. That is just going through the motions. So if you're purposeful, in my book, that means you're working towards building a relationship. It means you're listening, which is key. It's like when I give closing gifts, for me, the closing gifts, I don't care what I'm spending. I mean, I know the government only lets me write off $25, but I really don't care. I want to find something that really makes sense and it's relevant to those people. If they're chefs, the first transaction that you asked me about my first listing, they were also my first buyer clients, and he wanted to be a chef, as a fun hobbyist. And I went out and I bought him a whole set of Wusthof knives because I like to cook and I have Wusthof knives, and a friend of mine told me those were ones to get. So looking for ways to connect, to be relevant, to listen, befriend them in a way is how I look at building relationships in real estate.
Wow. Well, one of the things we look at that's challenging in that is that you're doing 40 million, which is amazing. You just have hundreds of past clients and thousands of relationships. What are some of the challenges with that?
Keeping up with all of them?
Yeah. How do you do that? You can't have a relationship with hundreds of people.
For instance, what I try to do, at least first year home anniversary, is I try to make sure I do personally go and visit at least the people that I personally handled. I mean, I do have a team.
Sure.
So, but also
you'll actually go visit them.
And if it's not me and it's somebody on my team, I will give them a bottle of champagne or something to go out and just say first year home anniversary. If I got close enough to them that I know their birthdays, as Molly would tell you, I dropped off cookies, for a birthday. I just actually bought a series of car vent magnets that I branded for your cell phone because, like, me, unfortunately, the cell phone is always in my hand. Not a good thing to be doing. So I will be giving these out to past clients, sending them, either dropping them off or at least sending them in the mail as a little.
You might save some lives. Great.
Well, I might save my own life.
Yeah, that's right.
But I'm always looking for some little premium promotional item that I can brand that I think is useful. I mean, we just walk the floor downstairs. Every booth has a pen. I mean, how many pens do we really need? But finding something that's more unique that is useful, even if they don't use it, they can pass it along. And I will put that in the note. If you already have something like this, then please pass along someone who does need it. And I learned this because I had a team meeting for my crew, and I was talking about cell phones, and I had to explain them the rules in New Jersey and how, even if you're holding it, not using it,
yes, it's
a violation, and you get ticketed. And so I gave them all magnets.
That's awesome. So what do you do? I'm sure you've had this. We've all had this happen where you realize somebody may be thinking about selling or something like that, but you haven't talked to them in 2 or 3 years. How do you spark that conversation again? Well, how do you re-engage that relationship if you haven't followed up?
So the key is, you just said, if I know. So the question is, how do I know?
Yeah.
So if I know through somebody, then I would like a LinkedIn connection, and you try to use that to make the introduction, which makes it a little bit easier. I'm a little bit more passive that way than super aggressive. However, if I don't know them that well, or if I don't have the ability or the time, because timing is critical, then I might put together, a quick pre-listing packet, and include a book that I've written on how to sell your home for the most money, and FedEx it to them, or drop it off in a FedEx envelope and say, I'm sorry I missed you, but try to get in front of them in that way. And make that kind of connection. If I don't pursue them because I'm being too timid, then, as the old expression goes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I will venture so I can gain.
Cool. I'd be curious, you've clearly had great success building out your team and all this. What are some, you have 1 or 2 pro tips on, you gave a bunch of examples of gifts and other things, but pro tips on deepening relationships?
Well, it's just listening to who that person is, finding out what makes them tick, finding out, where you can connect. Like, I have a client, I grew up in Massachusetts, so I happen to be, a Patriots fan, a Red Sox fan, all that, including my birthmark, which is a Red Sox logo. But one of my clients, I had no idea until after I posted that I was at a Giants-Patriots game that he was also a fan. So yesterday somebody was selling tickets. I bought tickets to give to him. And I know that's going to go super long because it's something that he's a fan of, which is even more a point. By giving him something that, hopefully he'll embrace because of his fandom, I will be included in that fandom, and that's what I want to be able to do.
And you'll be able to continue that conversation for years.
That is correct.
That's great.
Guess plus I get to go and watch my game.
That's right. Yeah, you were going anyway. That's great. Any last thoughts on how relationships fit in with real estate and growing a team?
Well, the trick is that, some people view relationships as sales, and they are, but to me, sales is really providing top-notch service. And you can't provide top-notch service if you don't listen to your clients. Wow. If you don't listen to how I like to text, okay? I have a client that told me, no, Mark, I want only email. So I would email Gary. And finally, by 2/3 of the way through the transaction, he was texting me, but not because I was texting him. That's right. But I listened to him. Yep. That's not my preferred way to communicate, and he was appreciative. It's really it has to start with listening, and then once you listen, you get to learn, and once you learn, then you know how best to service that client. And if you service them, you've developed a relationship.
That's great. It's a great reminder when we talk about relationships driving the industry. It's not sales, it's service. We're here to serve. And so when you have relationships and you can provide the value to people you know and who know you and like you, that's a great business to be in.
I love it.
Thanks for sharing some of your wisdom.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome.